Camp Aliceville, Alabama, September 8, 1943. 0900 hours, and Hauptmann Friedrich Weber watches through the fence as a convoy of trucks arrives at the camp entrance. American women in Red Cross uniforms step out carrying musical instruments, books, and recreation supplies. Weber has been in captivity for 4 months since his capture in North Africa, where the Afrika Korps finally surrendered to Allied forces. The sight of these women walking confidently into a military installation to organize activities for enemy prisoners contradicts 12 years of Nazi propaganda about weak, decadent Americans whose women abandon their natural roles. What Weber cannot comprehend is that he's witnessing just one small example of how American women have mobilized for total war in ways that will shatter every assumption his ideology taught him. The woman leading this Red Cross unit has a college degree, speaks fluent German, and volunteered specifically to work with prisoners because she believes in the power of education to transform enemies into future allies. Within the next 3 years, over 370,000 German prisoners housed in camps across America will encounter thousands of such women serving as nurses, librarians, teachers, factory supervisors, and farm managers. These encounters will fundamentally alter how an entire generation of German soldiers understands democracy, gender roles, and the source of American strength. The foundations of German certainty about American weakness rest on years of carefully constructed propaganda. Since Hitler's rise to power in 1933, the Nazi regime has portrayed American society as mongrelized and degenerate, weakened by racial mixing and female liberation. German soldiers learned that American women painted their faces, worked outside the home, and corrupted their nation's moral fiber by abandoning motherhood for selfish pursuits. Wehrmacht training manuals described the United States as a nation of jazz-obsessed materialists, whose men had become soft because their women refused to accept natural gender hierarchies. Lieutenant Colonel Hans Richter, commanding officer of the captured 164th Light Africa Division, brought these convictions with him into captivity. His personal journal recovered after the war reveals his initial shock at discovering American military efficiency despite having women in support roles. He writes that seeing females driving military vehicles and managing supply operations should indicate social chaos, yet American forces had just defeated the legendary Afrika Korps. This contradiction between ideological expectation and observed reality creates the first cracks in Nazi certainty. The scope of German prisoner operations in America reaches unprecedented scale by late 1943. The British government, overwhelmed by POW numbers after victories in North Africa, requests American assistance housing German captives. Ships that carried American troops to Europe return filled with Axis prisoners, arriving at ports in Norfolk and New York, at rates reaching 30,000 per month. By war's end, 371,683 German POWs will be scattered across 511 camps in 46 states, creating countless opportunities for cultural encounters that reshape perspectives on both sides. The camps themselves become small cities requiring extensive administrative support. Camp Hearn in Texas houses 5,000 prisoners, while Camp Concordia in Kansas holds 4,000 at its peak. These facilities need medical staff, clerical workers, food service personnel, and recreational coordinators. With American men deployed overseas, women fill these essential roles, bringing German prisoners into daily contact with American females performing jobs that would be exclusively male in Nazi Germany. Captain Martha Williams heads nursing operations at the prisoner ward of Halloran General Hospital on Staten Island. A graduate of Columbia Presbyterian School of Nursing, she oversees treatment of wounded German POWs with clinical expertise that forces even committed Nazis to acknowledge American medical advancement. When Oberst Kurt von Steuben initially refuses her medical instructions, insisting he won't take orders from a woman, Williams calmly demonstrates superior knowledge of surgical techniques developed at American teaching hospitals. Within weeks, von Steuben requests that Williams personally oversee his treatment, recognizing her competence transcends gender. The reaction of German medical personnel to American nurses reveals deep cultural collisions. Dr. Heinrich Müller, a German surgeon POW at Camp Butner, North Carolina, writes to his colleagues still in Germany expressing amazement that American nurses participate in medical procedures as skilled practitioners rather than mere assistants. He describes watching female surgical nurses who understood operations better than many German doctors, forcing him to question whether limiting women's education wastes human potential Germany cannot afford. Red Cross recreational programs bring structured cultural exchange into the camps. The organization deploys thousands of women to coordinate activities designed to maintain prisoner morale while subtly introducing democratic values. These workers organize everything from sports leagues to theatrical productions, creating environments where German prisoners interact with educated American women in non-threatening contexts that gradually erode ideological barriers. Dorothy Patterson runs the camp library at Camp Campbell, Kentucky, managing a collection of 10,000 books, including German literature banned by the Nazi regime. She speaks 3 languages and holds advanced degrees in comparative literature from Radcliffe. Her discussions with German prisoners about Thomas Mann and other exiled authors reveal to them that American women possess intellectual sophistication, their propaganda never acknowledged. Hauptmann Ernst Hoffmann later credits Patterson with introducing him to ideas that fundamentally changed his political views, simply by recommending books and engaging in philosophical discussions that treated him as an intellectual equal rather than an enemy. The interaction patterns that develop in camps follow predictable progressions. Initial German resistance to female authority gives way to grudging cooperation, then respect and eventually genuine admiration. This transformation accelerates when prisoners discover American women often know more about European culture than they do. At Camp Robinson, Arkansas, a Women's Army Corps sergeant who studied at the Sorbonne conducts French conversation classes for German officers. Her fluency in multiple languages and knowledge of European history demolishes stereotypes about provincial Americans. Farm labor programs create particularly intensive encounters between German POWs and American women. Labor shortages force the government to employ prisoners in agriculture under Geneva Convention provisions. By 1944, over 100,000 German POWs work on American farms, where they encounter women managing complex agricultural operations, while husbands serve overseas. These rural women demonstrate practical competence that impresses prisoners from Germany's own agricultural regions. Mrs. Helen Anderson manages 640 acres in Nebraska, with her husband fighting in Italy. She employs 6 German POWs who initially expect to work for a male foreman. Instead, they find Anderson driving combines, negotiating grain prices, and making planting decisions based on soil analysis and market projections. Unteroffizier Paul Schmidt writes that this woman understands agriculture better than his own father, who owned land in Bavaria. She commands respect through competence, not authority, making the prisoners eager to work efficiently for her. The maternal treatment many farm women show German prisoners creates cognitive dissonance with Nazi racial ideology. Mrs. Robert Johnson in Iowa brings extra food to POWs working her fields, learns their names, and asks about their families. Her kindness toward enemy soldiers contradicts propaganda about American cruelty, while her economic independence challenges assumptions about female capability. These simple human interactions occurring on thousands of farms across America gradually transform enemy soldiers into young men far from home deserving compassion. Church organizations play crucial roles facilitating controlled social contact between prisoners and American civilians. Lutheran and Catholic churches with German-speaking congregations organize services for POWs, creating opportunities for prisoners to observe American family dynamics. They witness marriages based on partnership wives who speak during church meetings and daughters preparing for college educations equal to their brothers. The Christmas service at Emmanuel Lutheran Church near Camp Algona, Iowa in 1944 becomes a transformative moment for many prisoners. Local women prepare traditional German Christmas foods, teach American children German carols, and treat POWs as honored guests rather than enemies. Gefreiter Wilhelm Müller writes to his mother describing American women who showed more Christian charity toward German prisoners than many Germans showed toward their own people during the harsh Nazi years. Educational initiatives within camps increasingly rely on American women as instructors. The Special Projects Division secretly implements re-education programs designed to introduce democratic values without triggering defensive responses. Female teachers prove particularly effective because German prisoners find it harder to maintain hostile attitudes toward women showing them kindness while demonstrating intellectual superiority. Professor Helen Chapman teaches American literature at Camp Forest, Tennessee, using novels to explore democratic themes. She assigns Steinbeck's works showing how Americans criticize their own society through literature, something impossible in Nazi Germany. Her classes become so popular that prisoners request additional sessions, amazed that a woman can lead philosophical discussions with depth exceeding their German university professors. The camp newspapers published by prisoners document evolving attitudes toward American women. Early 1943 editions mock American gender relations, repeating Nazi propaganda about social chaos resulting from female liberation. By mid-1944, the tone shifts toward curiosity, with articles exploring how American families function, despite women working outside homes. By 1945, prisoner publications openly admire American women's contributions to the war effort, with some arguing Germany should adopt similar policies after Reconstruction. Romance inevitably develops despite strict non-fraternization policies. Military authorities struggle to prevent relationships between German POWs and American women, particularly in rural areas where prisoners work alongside civilians. The scandal of American women becoming engaged to enemy prisoners while American soldiers fight overseas creates public outrage, but also demonstrates the powerful human connections transcending wartime hatred. Elizabeth Meyer meets former POW Kurt Zimmerman at a church function in Wisconsin in 1944. Their relationship begins with careful conversations about literature and music, always under supervision. After Kurt's repatriation in 1946, he returns to America specifically to marry Elizabeth. She later explains that Kurt told her American women proved everything he'd been taught about democracy was wrong. If women could be educated and independent while remaining feminine, then democracy must strengthen rather than weaken society. African-American nurses assigned to POW camps confront German racial ideology directly. The Army assigns black nurses to German prisoner wards, partly due to segregation policies, but also because fraternization concerns focus on white women. These professional black women caring for Wehrmacht soldiers create profound cognitive dissonance for prisoners raised on theories of Aryan supremacy. Lieutenant Sarah Washington serves at Camp Florence, Arizona, where German prisoners initially refuse treatment from black medical staff. Washington maintains professional composure while demonstrating medical expertise that saves German lives. Her competence forces some prisoners to question racial hierarchies, though others maintain their prejudices despite evidence contradicting their beliefs. The complexity of American race relations confuses Germans who expected clear racial oppression but find educated black professionals in positions of authority. Factory work introduces German POWs to American women in industrial settings. When labor shortages become critical, the government permits prisoners to work in non-military production under guard. They encounter women operating machinery, managing production lines, and supervising mixed-gender work teams. Rosie the Riveter is not propaganda, but reality observed daily by thousands of German prisoners. At a cannery in California, Obergefreiter Franz Hartmann works under Mrs. Patricia O'Brien, who manages the entire facility. She coordinates supply chains, maintains quality control, and handles personnel decisions for over 200 workers, including German POWs. Hartmann writes that O'Brien runs the factory more efficiently than any German officer he served under, yet maintains feminine grace that contradicts Nazi stereotypes about women in industry. The impact of these encounters extends beyond individual prisoners through correspondence networks linking camps. Letters between POWs spread stories of American women's capabilities, creating collective reassessment of gender assumptions. A prisoner at Camp Rupert, Idaho, writes to his friend in Camp Shelby, Mississippi, describing a female doctor who performed emergency surgery, saving German lives. Such accounts circulated widely, forcing even isolated prisoners to confront evidence challenging their worldview. Intelligence officers monitoring prisoner communications note significant attitude shifts regarding American women. Captain James Harrison, analyzing censored letters, reports that references to American female degeneracy, common in 1943, virtually disappear by late 1944, replaced by expressions of respect and often admiration. Prisoners increasingly write home, describing American women as educated, competent, and surprisingly moral, contradicting years of propaganda. The entertainment programs organized by American women showcase cultural values through performance. USO shows modified for prisoner audiences feature female performers who sing, dance, and act with professional skill. But more significantly, these women chat with prisoners in German, demonstrate knowledge of European culture, and treat POWs as audience members rather than enemies. The humanity shown through entertainment creates lasting impressions about American society's inclusive nature. Mary Sullivan, a concert pianist from Boston, performs for prisoners at camps throughout New England. She plays both American and German classical pieces, discussing musical interpretation with POW musicians. Her expertise in German composers, combined with her warm personality, leads several prisoners to write that she embodies cultured refinement they believed only existed in European women. Sullivan's performances demonstrate that American culture includes sophisticated artistic traditions, not just jazz and popular music. Librarians managing camp reading rooms become intellectual mentors to prisoners hungry for books after years of Nazi censorship. These women introduce German POWs to American literature, philosophy, and political thought banned in the Third Reich. They engage prisoners in discussions about democracy, individual liberty, and social organization, planting seeds of political transformation through literary exploration. Agnes Mitchell runs library services for 3 camps in Texas. She stocks shelves with German authors exiled by Nazis alongside American works exploring democratic themes. Her reading recommendations, tailored to individual prisoners' interests, guide intellectual journeys from totalitarian to democratic thinking. Several former POWs later credit Mitchell with introducing them to ideas that reshaped their entire worldview through simple acts of suggesting books and discussing their meaning. The nursing care provided during medical emergencies reveals American women's professional competence under pressure. When a typhoid outbreak strikes Camp Gruber, Oklahoma Army nurses work 18-hour shifts treating German prisoners. Their dedication to saving enemy lives during crisis impresses even hardened Wehrmacht veterans who expected Americans to let Germans die. Major Helen Roberts leads the medical response, treating over 300 infected prisoners. She organizes isolation wards, trains auxiliary staff, and maintains strict hygiene protocols that contain the outbreak. Her leadership during crisis demonstrates organizational abilities that German officers acknowledge exceed many military commanders. Oberstleutnant Wilhelm von Braun writes that Roberts saved more German lives through medical skill than he lost in entire North African battles. Women managing camp administrative offices handle classified documents, coordinate logistics, and facilitate prisoner processing with efficiency that challenges German assumptions about female capabilities in bureaucratic roles. They master complex regulations, manage multilingual correspondence, and solve administrative problems requiring intelligence and initiative. Rose Kennedy oversees prisoner records at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, tracking 15,000 German POWs through the processing system. She coordinates with military intelligence censorship offices and Swiss protecting powers while maintaining accurate documentation for repatriation. German officers working with Kennedy initially resent taking direction from a woman, but eventually request her assistance with administrative challenges, recognizing her superior understanding of military bureaucracy. The Women's Army Corps members stationed at camps embody military professionalism in female form. These uniformed women, performing duties traditionally reserved for men, initially shock German prisoners who cannot reconcile military service with femininity. WWII photographers, drivers, and communications specialists demonstrate that American women serve their nation in capacities Germans thought impossible. Sergeant Barbara Adams photographs prisoner activities at Camp McCain, Mississippi, documenting daily life for military records. Her technical expertise with cameras and developing equipment impresses German prisoners who work as her assistants. She maintains military bearing while showing personal warmth that contradicts stereotypes about women soldiers being unfeminine. Adams represents thousands of WWII personnel who prove women can be both military professionals and maintain feminine identity. Agricultural extension agents teaching modern farming techniques include women with advanced degrees in agronomy. These experts instruct German POWs in soil conservation, crop rotation, and scientific agriculture, demonstrating knowledge exceeding many German agricultural traditions. Female scientists teaching enemy prisoners advanced techniques reverse expected hierarchies of expertise. Dr. Margaret Foster, an agronomist from Iowa State, teaches soil science to prisoners working on experimental farms. Her doctorate in agricultural chemistry and practical farming knowledge command respect from German farmers who initially dismiss her as a theoretical academic. Foster's ability to increase crop yields through scientific methods while maintaining traditional farming wisdom bridges cultural divides through shared agricultural interests. The clerical workers managing camp correspondence handle massive volumes of prisoner mail requiring language skills and cultural sensitivity. These women read censored letters, understanding hopes and fears of enemy soldiers while maintaining security protocols. Their work humanizes prisoners through daily exposure to personal correspondence, revealing Germans as individuals rather than ideological enemies. Catherine Walsh processes mail at Camp Edwards, Massachusetts, reading hundreds of letters weekly between prisoners and German families. She notices evolution in prisoners' descriptions of American life, particularly regarding women's roles. Early letters express shock at female independence, but later correspondence describes admiration for American gender equality. Walsh's position allows her to observe attitude transformation through intimate written communications. Social workers addressing prisoner welfare issues demonstrate American humanitarian values through practical assistance. These women help POWs navigate bureaucracy, obtain permitted items, and resolve personal problems, showing enemy soldiers that democratic societies care for individual well-being even during war. Jean Thompson serves as prisoner welfare coordinator at Camp Perry, Ohio, helping Germans obtain musical instruments, art supplies, and educational materials. Her efforts to improve prisoner life despite wartime constraints demonstrate American values prioritizing human dignity. Thompson's work convinces many prisoners that democracy's emphasis on individual worth extends even to enemies, proving moral superiority over totalitarian systems. The dietitians planning prisoner meals balance nutritional requirements with cultural preferences, showing respect for German dietary traditions. These women ensure POWs receive adequate nutrition while accommodating religious and regional food preferences when possible. Their professional approach to enemy welfare contrasts with starvation rations Allied prisoners receive in German camps. Lieutenant Ruth Anderson supervises food services for 8,000 prisoners at Camp Polk, Louisiana. She modifies menus to include German dishes when ingredients permit and ensures special dietary needs are met. Her attention to prisoner nutrition and willingness to accommodate preferences demonstrates American abundance and organizational competence. German prisoners accustomed to military rations express amazement at both food quality and the fact that women manage such complex operations. The recreation directors organizing sports and cultural activities create structured environments for positive interaction. These women coordinate everything from soccer leagues to theater productions, providing outlets for prisoner energy while subtly introducing American values through organized activities. Patricia Morgan directs recreation programs at Camp Breckenridge, Kentucky, managing facilities for 3,000 prisoners. She organizes art exhibitions, musical performances, and athletic competitions that showcase prisoner talents while building bridges between captors and captives. Morgan's programs demonstrate that Americans value cultural expression, even from enemies, fostering respect that transcends wartime hostility. By 1945, the cumulative impact of these encounters produces measurable attitude changes among German prisoners. Survey data collected by military intelligence shows dramatic shifts in prisoner opinions about American society, particularly regarding women's roles. Over 60% of prisoners interviewed express admiration for American gender equality, compared to less than 10% holding such views upon capture. Former POW associations formed after repatriation maintained contact with American women who showed them kindness during captivity. These continuing relationships through letters and eventual visits sustain personal connections that help rebuild German-American relations during the Cold War. Many former prisoners credit American women with showing them that democracy offers freedom and opportunity for all citizens, regardless of gender. Hans Weber returns to Germany in 1946, fundamentally changed by 3 years observing American women in various capacities. He becomes an advocate for women's education in occupied Bavaria, arguing that Germany cannot rebuild effectively while restricting half its human potential. His transformation from Nazi officer to democracy advocate exemplifies thousands of similar conversions sparked by encounters with American women who embodied values superior to totalitarian ideology. The influence extends to German Reconstruction policies as returning POWs support women's rights in the new Federal Republic. Former prisoners who observed American prosperity linked to female workforce participation argue Germany must adopt similar policies to recover economically. Their eyewitness testimony about American women's capabilities helps overcome conservative resistance to gender equality in post-war Germany. American military planners initially worried that female personnel working with German POWs might face danger or disrespect. Instead, these women become some of the most effective ambassadors for democratic values precisely because they embody freedoms that Nazi ideology claimed would destroy civilization. Their professional competence, personal warmth, and intellectual sophistication demonstrate that societies liberating women strengthen rather than weaken themselves. The German prisoners who couldn't believe what they saw when encountering American women discovered truths that shattered their worldview. These women were neither the painted degenerates of Nazi propaganda nor the weak creatures requiring male protection, but educated professionals contributing their talents to defeat fascism. Their beauty came not from submission to traditional roles, but from confidence born of freedom and opportunity. Their brains, developed through equal education, proved that human potential transcends gender when societies remove artificial barriers. As the last German prisoners depart American shores in 1946, they carry memories of women who treated enemies with dignity while demonstrating capabilities that exposed the lie of female inferiority. These encounters planted seeds of transformation that would influence German society's evolution toward gender equality in subsequent decades. The American women who served in camps, medical facilities, factories, and farms won a subtle but significant victory over fascist ideology, not through force, but through daily demonstration of democratic values in action. The legacy of these wartime encounters extends beyond individual transformations to influence broader historical developments. German POWs who experienced American gender equality firsthand become supporters of women's rights during occupation and Reconstruction. Their testimonies about American women's competence help justify policies promoting female education and employment in the new German democracy. The personal became political as individual encounters with remarkable American women translated into support for systemic change. The story of German POWs encountering American women reveals how human interaction can overcome ideological indoctrination when people meet across cultural divides. In prison camps scattered across America through millions of daily encounters, American women demonstrated that democratic values of equality and opportunity create stronger societies, not weaker ones. They proved through their actions that freedom unleashes human potential rather than destroying social order. These women achieved something military force alone could not accomplish, transforming enemies into allies through the simple yet revolutionary act of being themselves educated, capable, free citizens in a democratic society.